Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Well, not my kitchen, is going to be the dining room, one of the dining rooms or the working dining rooms. I'm just wondering, I'm going to ask my cameraman because I don't have the opportunity to look at the names, although technically that will be corrected probably in a couple of weeks. Anyone on board yet? I own.
Oh, three people starting.
Three people. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome on board. And I hope you're going to enjoy this evening's show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, we are still waiting for the others to come on board. You are all important. You're all a fantastic crowd, all of you. And I'm just wondering if you want to, and if you have a date at home, which means dates, a small little, I'm going to show you. If you have one of these at home in your kitchen, can you, if you have, while I'm going to be working so that you can have an idea as to what I'm talking about. If you don't have them, don't worry. I'm quite sure that when you have the opportunity to acquire them, you will get them. It's just in case that you have one or two in the kitchen. See? Oh, they're lovely, lovely dates. Okay. I think it's we could start.
Mickey says hello.
Hello, Mickey.
And Mirella is also watching.
Mirela. Hello, Mirela.
And then two other people as well.
Yes, and the two others, I'm sorry. The names I don't have, but hello, everyone. I'm glad that you're on board. And everyone else who's already on board and I don't see, welcome. I'm going to start now. You're watching me with my rubber gloves. It's not COVID-19, no. But I'm going to be working with dates and I'm going to be filling them. And I'm going to be with my son now. I'm going to turn around a little and I'm going to give you a little tour of my table. Yeah, good. We're going to start with my with a photograph in this book. This book is my cookbook, my Emirati cookbook. And the reason why I'm showing you this, these are date palm trees that grow in the United Arab Emirates, as well as in the entire Gulf area and many, many other countries. In this particular case, we the dates that they've had for many, many years, over 50 years. And it's called Nadal or Genasi. These are the little lighter ones. Although they don't stay this color. They start with the green color. Then they progress on to a lighter orange. Then to a darker red or dark, very dark orange. From the dark red, then they turn into a light brown or light beige, and then darker beige, and some turn out to be dark brown. In this particular case, it's between light beige to dark beige in color. Now, these palm trees, whenever you see a palm tree, then you know that it is a female tree. The male trees are there to produce with the female, but they do not. It is the female trees. So on or many households in the United Arab Emirates, they own small, medium, and large-sized date farms for their own consumption, or for a co-op, which means they sell to date co-op companies. For example, one of the many, the name is Al Fouah in Al Ain. Al Ain is located in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, and they're sold there. And guess what? Where they're sold afterwards? They're sold back to Europe, meaning to Berlin. Allow me to show you. So if you come across a bag, which I'm sure you will because they're being sold right across Europe. So for those of you who are in Europe, and by the way, Mickey, I know you live in Montreal, they're being sold at Provigo. You can buy them. It's called Date Crown. And they may have Khalas, Khalas, or Genazi. The Genazi date belongs to the United Arab Emirates, which means they did not have to import date from Iraq, Egypt, Saudi, Oman, and Qatar. Although they absolutely did import, but they did not have to import the Khanasi. They already had the Khanasi. Exquisite, wonderful dates. They're small. I'm going to show you. This is how they look like. Now I'm placing it on the palm of my hand, and you can see the size. So more or less half the thumb, and you remove the end, which you don't need at all. And the way it's eaten, you normally remove, well, I mean, normally you always do, you remove the stone, as the Emiratis would say, or in the Gulf area they call them stone, or the pit. And you can see it's actually through transportation. It is still, it's still humid, or it's still damp, or it's still juicy, but ever so slightly dry inside. If you go directly to the farms, then when you squish them, I'm going to try to do it with this one, then you can actually puree it. It's just wonderful. Although here in this case, well, almost, but not quite. Here, see? Yes, there we go. I can actually mold this into a small little ball. You see this? There we go. So whenever you buy dates, this is what you can do right away without adding sugar. It looks like a little chocolate ball. And what do you do with this? Look, we have cocoa. This is just your first example. And I'm just going to sprinkle or dust that date with a little bit of cocoa or cocoa, which is bitter, dry, alkaline cocoa. It's a normal cocoa powder that you would use to make a cocoa drink, or you would use in your cakes. So there you are. You have one little date praline done. Absolutely wonderful. You don't need added sugar because it's very sweet. It's considered actually medium sweet in the United Arab Emirates. Very sweet would be, then we would go to the majul. The majul dates are not initially grown in the United Arab Emirates. They come from Saudi Arabia. If you buy majul, then I'm going to say try to buy the majul from Saudi Arabia. They taste much better than marzipan. There's a complete sugar balance and it's not heavy. It activates the juices in the stomach. And that is the reason why the Emiratis, as well as the entire Gulf area and all the Muslim countries, when they break their fast during Ramadan, which is now, they're going through Ramadan at this particular time, they break their fast with 1, 2, or up to 3 dates. The dates cause the juices in the stomach to be activated and prepare the stomach for oncoming food. And this is here, there you go, this is one. What I did before, I prepared you also another date with a surprise inside, which is what I'm going to teach you tonight. And then you can serve it to your guests. And then you can either use the date to bite into it and to eat it yourself, or to decorate your cake with this particular date filled, and I'm going to show you how to fill them, and with what, or these small, them too large. A date, most people cannot eat a whole date or 2 or 3 dates consecutively. So I would suggest for coffee or tea, or decorate your cake with these dates, dust it with cocoa in this particular size, which is smaller than a hazelnut. This is so that you can compare it. Okay, I'm going to put this down. And we're going to have a tour of our table. So what we're going to do is start with the cocoa, which is bitter cocoa, alkaline. We have almonds with the skin. We also have espresso coffee powder. Very important. It's wonderful. In other words, it's very compatible. Everything else is, but coffee seems to work fantastic. Then we have cardamom powder. The cardamom powder, you can either mix it with a little bit of cinnamon. I'm going to show you all this. You don't have to remember any of this. We have little pieces of almond without the skin. Then we have pistachio. And I'm just going to go over here. This is another surprise. This is sesame butter or tahini, which we can use as a dip, meaning this is where I'm going to start to show you. Also during Ramadan or off Ramadan activities, for birthdays, for weddings, or just a snack in between, you can dip your, you have a close-up, Nikolai? You can dip your dates into the liquid tahina or sesame butter. It's wonderful, this way. And you just dip it quickly into sesame and you have an exquisite date that you can eat with flavor. Now, if you want to dip just ever so slightly, I'm going to come here to the cocoa powder, just a little bit. You have cocoa, sesame butter, and sesame seeds. I cannot stress it more. This is one of the most exquisite mixtures that I'm going to be explaining to you here tonight. I'm going to place it on here, and you can serve this to your guests. You can serve this to yourself. And especially now during the Corona time, many of us are alone and we cannot visit our neighbors. We don't have our friends or our families. Well, like I always say, don't worry about it. Try to get your laptop out, Zoom, Skype, talk, watch face-to-face, meaning Skype or Zoom or any other method, possibly even WhatsApp, and share your experience that you had this evening. Teach it to the others so that you can enjoy it while you are teaching to the other person. And then you can meet for coffee, meaning meet for coffee virtual meeting. It's so much fun, and you can compare the taste and whether you like that one or whether you don't like that one. Maybe you prefer a different one. Why not? Okay, now we're going to go, and for all of you, I'm going to now welcome you once again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alexandra von Hahn, and now you're going to ask yourself, where does she come from? Well, half Hungarian, my mother. My father is a German Balt. I was born in Chile, in South America. Lived there for about 10, 11 years. And then we moved on to Canada. I lived there for about 15, 18 years. Went to university for the Canadian government. Met my husband, who's a German diplomat. And then we went on a Middle East mission. So we went to many beautiful postings. And I brought home lovely ideas and lots that were eaten in the past, about 50, 60 years ago. And especially for the United Arab Emirates, I put together a book, and it's been very successful. It won an international award. I'm very lucky. It was not my aim. I didn't even know that we could win international awards, nor did I know who actually gives these awards. But I got one. It was a surprise email. Okay. So having said that, I will now go and proceed and show you how to fill dates. And then I have lots of other stories afterwards. Okay, I'm going to sit down for this. We're in a different room for those of you who are going to use this sunroom. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to ask Nikolai to come with a little close-up here if it's possible. Now, just to let you know, we're having some internet disbalances or interruptions, and there is a very good reason. We're actually peak time, Berlin, Brandenburg, and we live at the border between Berlin and Brandenburg towards the airport, and it's absolutely peak time. So maybe for a couple of seconds, just bear with me, I'll be here. Okay, I just opened a date. This is one way of doing it. Either open and separate them, or I'm going to make it easier. So I'm going to place it on this board. Or what we can do is cut halfway through, only halfway. You remove the pit or the stone, and now you can fill it. For example, fill it with, now this was only for decoration. We don't want that. Pistachios. So let's say you take three pistachios, and you don't have to buy them crushed. Once you buy them crushed, most of the flavor has escaped. So you can actually use the mortar and pestle. You can come close here, Nikolai. There, we're going to crush them. And the flavor, and you can the wonderful aroma of the pistachio. There's a little bit of sugar with it because I use the sugar for decorative. Here we go. We're going to fill it. There we go. A little more if I have any more. There. And so you can either and then you squeeze it. Now you can either decide to leave it as is, or you may also add a little more. Now what goes well with pistachio? The pistachio with walnut, yes, but something better. The pistachio absolutely goes very well with a little bit of saffron. Now saffron is the most expensive spice that you can find. I'm sorry, there we go. Now, for those of you who have not seen or heard of saffron, the best saffron in the world, from my perspective, or in my opinion, it comes from Iran. And if you look at the strands, the strand must be thin at one end and thicker at the other end. And it has a very strong fragrance. It's nutty, ever so slightly acidic, but not acidic. It's slightly sour, but acidic not, it's too strong a word. And it changes flavor and color once you bake or cook with it. In this case here, we don't have to use the mortar and pestle. We just take a few strands and just rub them here between the fingers and place them on top. Now, you will not be able to see it because we've actually covered it here with pistachio. It's just for the flavor. And if you want on top, since we have the white here from the sugar, we can add a little bit of coconut. So I'm going to place it here on the little platter, on the little plate rather, and usually 3 dates per person. According to the Emiratis who taught me about dates, the history of dates, how the dates are grown, Prophet Muhammad has actually left a legacy, and that is that you eat 3, which 3 dates replace a meal. That means if you're actually going to, as according to Prophet Muhammad, if you're going to be eating not a meal, but you will have 3 dates, at that time, in those days, they were not filled, but they were definitely drunk with camel milk. So the camel milk was a meal in itself as well, but in combination with the dates, that was plenty energy. And what the idea was, again, according to Prophet Muhammad, you have 1/3, 30% of the volume of your stomach will be filled with the 3 dates and a small cup. It's usually, they drank half. This is actually very large for the Emiratis, was half camel milk. Half, the other third is with water, and the upper third, or the last third, it was air. Actually, that was called body maintenance. Diet. They were very thin. They were literally very thin, and they followed the Islamic way of living, and that is 1/3, 1/3, one method. 1/3 food, 1/3 water, and 1/3 air. So that's the whole. There's also story that dates. In other words, a date, you don't just eat them. You eat them fully aware of the fact that there is a story behind it, and it is medicinal, has the minerals, potassium. It's also antioxidant, and it will fill you. It has it's carbohydrate. Absolutely, if you don't have any other carbohydrate, this is better than any other carbohydrate. So let's go on to our next date. Now, the other way of doing it, I'm going to show you here. I'm going to cut this in half and do the same thing as before, is to remove the pit or the stone. I'm going to place it here on the board. I'm going to take a little bit of the coconut fat, place it on the board, and we can take, what shall we do? Shall we take, yes, we'll take coconut. And we can mix it with the coconut oil, which will give you a paste, which is what you need. And it will become hard once you place it into the refrigerator. Here, this is one way of doing it. Make sure that it's well mixed with the coconut oil. actually what it is, it's coconut oil. The coconut butter is just ever so slightly as a different mixture. And I'm going to add again a few strands of saffron. And the few strands are quite a bit actually. Okay, there we go. It's a close-up. And I'm going to simply mash it and mix it. And you will see. There we go. We're going to mash a little more. There. And it will turn every yellow tape time. But we have, in fact, now the saffron. It's in very small pieces. Now let me just taste it, just to make sure that it is exactly what I think it is, or should taste like. Wonderful. Coconut and saffron. Love it. Now, there we go. And there is no sugar. But you must know that the sugar carries also an added flavor. If you want sugar, you can certainly add a little bit of sugar. If not, which is what I prefer, without added sugar, because the date is sweet enough. There we go. In the refrigerator, once you have this in the fridge, it will harden up. So you don't have to worry, as long as you're not doing it outside under a 30 or 40 degree heat. There. So now you have one beautiful plate ready for one guest. We're going to now go on to the next. And here we go. We are going to open up another date and remove the pit or the stone. And we're going to be using an almond. Sorry. What did they call it? Walnut. I forgot. Okay, I'm going to crush the walnut. And now with the walnuts, we're going to add a little bit of cardamom into it. The cardamom powder. A little more. So it's just a pinch per person. And now we're going to mix it. And now again, if you wish, you could add just a little bit of tahina. I'm going to go back here. A little bit of the sesame butter into this mixture. This is in order for us to be able to have a paste, which is much easier to place into the date. There we go. Actually, this is not right. It has to be. There we go. We're going to pound it a little more. There we go. And we'll add just a little more of the tahina or the sesame paste into it. This is a lovely, lovely, lovely mixture. There we go. Okay. Now you use your fingers, and that's why I have my rubber gloves on. And you can put everything into it. This is going to be a very well filled date. There we go. Now you don't have to go out and buy filled dates anymore, because you can fill the dates yourself. Many of the Arabic or Syrian, in this case, stores, Turkish stores, they also have stuffed or filled dates, but you can actually make them. This is now a little walnut with a little bit of cardamom and a little bit of sesame butter inside. And then the next one, I'm going to take a large date, which is a little easier to operate. Here we go, to work with. We're going to cut it in half again. And then here comes the following option. Here we remove the stone or the pit. Under normal circumstances, it would be a raw almond without the skin. It would be simply placed here, and this is how it's served. However, what I have done for my guests is that I would roast or caramelize these almonds in sugar and a little bit of butter. I did not do it this evening. This is going to be your option. So if you want to roast these or caramelize these almonds with a little bit of sugar and butter, yeah, something very exquisite. So you can actually place this inside, close it, and you have your almond filled with, your date filled with almond. So we will have 3 per plate.
Alexandra, Gaetano asks,
Yes.
do these come from Batil?
Gaetano, you're good. By the way, for those of you, it's a very good question, Gaetano. Batil, the store, and you're talking about the chain store in the United Arab Emirates. It's a wonderful store, very elegant, quite pricey, beautifully packaged. Their designer, their company, and the dates, they all come from Saudi Arabia. It's not Emirati. These are Saudi dates that are transported from Saudi to the United Arab Emirates, of which percent of their dates are frozen. The frozen dates are even better than ice cream. But thank you for asking. Batil is an excellent date company. So for anyone who's listening now and is in the United Arab Emirates, try to get also from Batil. Not necessarily the ones from the airport. They're double, triple the price. But from the malls. The malls have the date boxes, and they are filled with caramelized pecan nuts. Heaven. And the best majul, which is actually the king of all the dates, does not come from the United Arab Emirates. It comes from Saudi Arabia. The king for the United Arab Emirates, or for the Emiratis, what they love the most is the one that where's my package here? They love this one here. Khenasi, which has nothing to do or any similarity to the majul dates, the one that you would normally find also amongst other dates at Batil, Gaetano. So it's a very, yes, you can compare. Definitely appreciate the fact it has their own flavor and their own their own dates with their own flavor, although they have the same name. On the other hand, to answer your question part 2, Gaetano, and for all listening, there is a store in the United Arab Zenaida, and Zenaida belongs to Al Fawah, which is a date company in the United Arab Emirates, off island. They have beautiful packaging. And if you come across their paste in shape of a pyramid, buy it. It's sugar coated and with chocolate, without chocolate, with cardamom, without cardamom. It is equal, but totally different as far as the quality is concerned to Batil. And I hope I've answered your question. Okay, so that was an excellent question. Thank you. And if any of you have questions, by all means ask. I love questions. Here, I'm going to open up the next one. And what we are going to do now, as you can see, I have chocolate in my hand. This is a milk chocolate, which is what most people prefer in the United Arab Emirates. And I'm going to cut it in half. I will fill it. And it will remain. I have to shape it. There we go. And squeeze it so that it will be handled in such a way by the person who's eating it without the chocolate falling out of the date. Okay, I'm going to place it here. And I'm going to make another date filled with chocolate, but this time ever so slightly different. So here we go. I'm going to add the chocolate in a little. And I'm going to open it up again, ever so slightly. Sun to come here. This is espresso coffee, but espresso instant, not the one that's freshly ground. And I'm going to just sprinkle it or dust the chocolate with it and close it. Now this is better than a mocha. Half chocolate, half coffee with dates. Oh la la, wonderful. Okay, this will be placed here. We still have a few more to go. A short intermezzo, and there's a good reason for this. I'm going to pretend that you are in the United Arab Emirates on a farm. And the farm has mangoes, vegetables, actually herbs, and camels or dromedars. They don't have any camels. They look like camels, but with one hump, they're only dromedars. The camels with a double hump are in Australia. Now, I'm going to just get up a little bit, and we're going to pretend that we're sitting on the floor at the farm, at the date farm, and we're enjoying eating dates with camel milk. 50 years ago. Now, somehow we have to protect ourselves from all the flies and all the insects that would normally then be hovered just above or sitting and consuming the dates. So this is a food cover made from the date tree, from the fronds. It's amazing what they did with anything. The entire tree was at their disposal. So we would just cover, and this is a food cover. Isn't that lovely? So I'm just going to put it back here. And the date tree served them a huge amount of, actually a large number of purposes. They were able to construct their home. They were able to burn the fire with the wood. And the net, there is actually a fiber, a little close to the book. There's a fiber that this is the fiber right here, which is produced by the date tree. That fiber was used as a to protect them from the winds, if they ever had winds, or from insects flying into their home, as well as a filter for their emulsion. They would actually a small piece of that filter or the net, so it's actually a filter, into the beak, and when they pour, so it had multi-purpose. Also, it was also meaning they would have several layers of these fibers, and then actually bend them inwards, wet them, and then shape them into plates. Now here we will continue. Yes, our next date. Here we go. We have, if you remember before, I made a small paste out of the date and mixed it with cocoa powder, or actually dusted it. And I'm going to just insert it right into the date. So you have quasi a ganache dates filled with ganache. We call it ganache. It's not officially ganache, but very similar. So this is one. Then you have another one. We're going to, now I'm just wondering, we had the almond. Yes, we're going to now have the almond with the skin. Okay, we will take an almond. Now the almonds with the skin are very hard to bite. The Emiratis, they have all their food, and every preparation, everything that they prepare has a meaning or has a reason or a ritual. And their main reason for crushing the food or making sure the food is made very small is so that they will not break their teeth, they will not injure their tongue, or they will not burn their lips when drinking coffee. It's not served hot. It's served semi-warm or hot, but not hot enough for them to burn themselves. So that goes also for the almonds. And we're going to crush the almonds. I'm going to drop the almonds into the mortar and pestle, and we're going to crush it in order to make this chew friendly, so to speak. So, and when you crush them freshly, you have the oils exuding, absolutely exquisite. Here we go. Now you don't have to add sesame butter because it will be not compatible. You could certainly do it, but you will have the tahina or the sesame butter is quite strong, and so is the almond. So what we could do in order to turn this into a paste, I'm just going to use just a little bit of the coconut butter or oil and place it here on my board and mix it. Okay, now since the almonds, when they're not roasted, yes, they have a flavor, but not very strong. And Emiratis, they absolutely, when they eat, they don't just chew the food and swallow it, they smell first. They touch, they smell, they want to hear it crunching. they taste it, which means it has to be a three-dimensional impact on the tongue, and then the flavors are then dispersed of swallowing. It may sound strange, but it's absolutely not strange, and that is the reason why they've used many ingredients in order to make their food taste as what we would call exotic, or like 1001 Night, although it's Iranian. So now I've mixed it, and here we go. I'm going to insert this into the date, but we need something else to enhance the flavor of the unroasted almond. What can we do? And here you can add just a little bit of the cinnamon. Just grab a pinch of your cinnamon and sprinkle it inside. Not too much, just a little. And if you wish to add a little bit of coffee into it, that's exquisite. Just a little bit of espresso and a little bit of espresso into it. And you close it. There we go. You can place it here. What we are going to do is I'm going to just, here we go. I'm going to ask my son to bring the camera to the rose water. Now, the rose water did not come from the United Arab Emirates. It came from Morocco. It came from Iran, especially first from Iran, India, Morocco, and ever since then it stayed in the United Arab Emirates, and it's used for desserts as well as for the savory dishes into the rice, which is very Indian, and it smells like roses. From roses. You just have to make sure that you buy your rose water from a source what it's made from rose water and not artificial. Wonderful. It's almost like a perfume, and it can be too strong. If you put too much into it, it becomes too much of the rose water. So if you're not into it, then don't use it. But if you're experimenting, which I hope you will, just put a small drop into it. So here we go. Oh no, where was my almond? So let me see if this was the almond. Okay, I think I'm going to make a new one just to make sure. I'm going to cut this one open. There we go. And I'm going to remove it again. And I'm saving them. As you see, I'm saving them for a very good reason. I will tell you why. Okay, here we go. I'm going to, this time, this is very small. But I'm going to crush it only once. There we go. Small pieces that you can still bite, unless you don't have any more teeth, but it's not a problem. I'm going to leave this open and add something that would hold the water. Okay, here we have this here. Yes, we'll put cinnamon into it. Here, I'm going to sprinkle just with a little bit of cinnamon. There, this is too much. And now this is going to be fun. It's going to be slightly challenging. I will have here, well, I'm just going to try to add 1 drop of rose water. There, 1 drop. And then I'm going to squeeze it. And there we go. This is covered with rose water. Absolutely. Oh, it's wonderful. Dream come true. There we go. Okay. What we are now going to do is, we're not going to cut it open. We're going to remove the end part of this date. Again, we're going to remove the pits, put it to the side, and we're going to massage this into a paste. Although I must admit that now in Europe you can buy date paste in a box or in a plastic bag, and it's ready for you to use. They've removed the skin of the date, and some companies have excellent mixers or machines where they use the skin of the date and it's turned into a puree. So here we go, or into a paste, not puree. So if my son were so kind, here we go. So I'm turning this into a paste. And why am I doing this, turning this into a paste? This paste here is used by the Emiratis for the following reason. Again, we're going to turn this into not a filled, oh, I think I just dropped my, here, I have still some orange blossom liquid here.
Rose water.
Rose water, sorry, not orange blossom. Yeah. And now I'm going to try to mix it and incorporate it into this particular paste. And here we go. This is another way of doing it, which is very easy to eat. And then we're going to simply roll it into the coffee, into the espresso. And this is one of them. Now I'm going to then do the same thing with the next date, but we're going to do something else. Here again, I'm going to turn this into a paste. And this is something that you can do for yourself, for others. If you have a nice gift box, or if you have a glass dish that you would like to give away, you could insert filled dates. However, once the pit has been removed from a date, it will last maybe up to 5 days, 6 days in the refrigerator. If you leave the pit in the date, this may last 3, 4, 5 years. It may dry up, and you can still bad. But once the pit has been removed, indeed, then the consumption of these prepared filled dates will have to be consumed anywhere under a week, just ever so. All right. Now what we can do is another favorite of the United Arab Emirates, or the Emiratis, is to mix it with cardamom. See, I'm going to. This is quite strong. I have organic cardamom, so it's a little more intensive than the non-organic. So if you're not using organic, then just do a little more of the cardamom. Now mix it. And there we go. Here, this you can eat with your espresso. This is just wonderful. And I'm going to now mix it into, which makes it also very pretty, here into the almond bits. So when they're a little bit drier, it's a little difficult. Oh, here we go. All right, it's fine. Okay, you can add a little more if you want to. And this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're just going to massage it into it, and we'll shape it again. There we go. And children love doing this too. All right, so we have this, and it's done. However, you might say, this is not so pretty. What can I do with it? So you have powdered sugar here, and I had a colander. I had a sieve here somewhere. It's maybe here. Oh, thank you, Nikolai. Thank you. Okay, there we go. It's much more, this is much prettier this way. And you serve it on that little plate. And we're going to do another one. And yes, so now we're going to turn this into paste. Now, for those of you who don't like doing this, you can buy the paste ready-made. And you can then insert any or infuse any flavored taste that you want. Now you want this chocolatey. In other words, I'm now going to go over and dip it into my cocoa. There, quite a bit of it. There. And don't worry, if the date is sweet enough, and if you're into the bitter chocolate, this is lovely. This is lovely. So you massage or you incorporate the cocoa, the bitter cocoa, into the date until you have reached a point where you can shape it without the cocoa dropping off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's not coming out. No, is it? No, I have to do just a little more of it. Now, here is your choice. You can either continue, in other words, just simply leave it as is, or you may opt to combine cinnamon with cocoa. Would do, they would sprinkle cardamom on it. Well, I'm not going to. I'm going to just put a little bit of cinnamon on it. There we go. Here. And then, very exotic, you can sprinkle coffee. Just a little bit of it. And roll it in. So you now have all three flavors. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these plates. And last but not least, what we have not done yet is, yes, here, we will do 2 more. I'm going to open up and fill this. No, I'm not going to fill it. I'm going to turn this into a paste. Here we go. And I'm going to have sesame seeds. I'll simply incorporate the sesame seeds into it. Again, that will give you the bite, and it's something that it's wonderful once you have that tongue experience, where you know that it's not only the date, it's date plus. Okay, so here we go again. And then what you could do is pound the saffron. Just going to take a few strands. It's quite a bit of, but you need a lot. And I'm going to just powderize it and place it into the mortar and pestle and have the saffron stick to the dates. So, however, now you're going to smell it. Yes, it's actually quite good. It's actually it's very, very good. Okay, we always have to have one plain or one natural without any changes at all to it. And one last one. Now that is not strange. If you think of the kitchen, the Moroccan kitchen, they use dates and olives in their savory dishes. And in this case here, what we are going to do, we're going to take, we just opened up a date. I'm placing it on the board. Here I have a Turkish, they're wonderful, Turkish olives. And I'm going to remove the pit as well. There we go. It's removed. And either I cut it into very small pieces, I don't have to, it's very soft, and I will insert it, simply stuff or fill my date with the Turkish olive. It has to be placed on a very different plate, just for the sake of having a system running. I'm going to place this on the Iranian plate here. Next to it, I have my tahina sauce. And this can be combined. Which one is out here? I know it's very strange, but it's not. Which is our cocoa with mocha, with espresso. And our plain. The guest will have to know, in other words, the host will let the guest know that this one here is savory, the other two are sweet. And they're served with a dip. It does not have to be served with a dip, but often it is served with a dip. The dip happens to be tahina or sesame butter in this case. And the dip can also be chocolate. The dip can also and have coffee, and it's dipped here. Now you're going to ask yourself, when do the guests eat these dates? When? They eat it with their coffee, the Emirati coffee. Now I'm going to take the dalla, which is what I explained here and the other day. The Emirati coffee, again, has the beak of the bird, the 3 levels here. This is to indicate that the water is boiling, and the shape, the very feminine shape and ergonomic shape of the ear for the left hand to be held. In other words, for the left hand to hold the dalla or coffee pot. Now, I'm going to take the small Emirati cup called finjan, or in French, demi-cup, which is what they call as well. And it's eaten together with a date. What is eaten first? Do you drink the coffee first, or do you take the date first? All you have to know that Emirati coffee is not sweetened. There's absolutely no sugar, no milk. The coffee is boiled, meaning the coffee that is grounded. It's grounded, boiled in water. It's very, very thin, but very strong. Exquisite. And now here comes the etiquette, which is always part of any food preparation. There's always an etiquette behind it. So, is it the coffee first? Is it the date first? The date first or the coffee? If you're going to be passing the test of the etiquette, or when you're invited to the Majlis in the United Arab Emirates or anywhere along the Gulf area, Majlis is your salon, is your living room. And you will not be seated with the man. If you're a man, you're with the man. If you're a woman, you're with the women. The rules are all the same. You have to know what you're doing. So, if I'm the hostess, and if I happen to be the one serving, and we're all here as women, then I would be holding this in my left hand. I would be pouring it 1/3 way in. 1/3 way, here we go. 1/3, only 1/3. It's a sign of respect, so that I will not burn my tongue, I will not burn my lips, and it's not meant to be drunk down. It's meant there to have something in your hand and to show how you're holding it, because the how you're holding will indicate from what, what rank, which background, are you educated, are you not educated, are you Emirati, are you Qatari, are you Omani, whatever. Or are you Canadian, are you German, are you Hungarian? So here we go. I'm going to take the date first. I'm going to take the natural date. First, I'm going to take the date because there is a reason. There's no sugar in the coffee and it's quite bitter. So, I leave it in my right hand. I would normally, as an Emirati, I would have the little plate here so I can put it down. And I'm slowly chewing the date. I'm not there to fill my stomach with date, nor am I arriving hungry that I have to eat it. This is eaten just to show that I know how to eat a date. I have learned the elegance of eating, or the ritual. No matter from which background you come from, if you're coming from the royal background or from a farm, the same rules. Absolute equal. And you drink with your right hand. Just a small sip. And if you do not want to drink it, you will pretend. You will simply have your lips to the cup and you tip it ever so slightly and you compliment or you acknowledge the hostess. They know the difference between a compliment and an acknowledgement. Compliment is very superficial. The date, if she filled them for you, you will acknowledge her. You're not going to compliment. Compliment is quite superficial. You're going to acknowledge all the time. Acknowledge has a verb in the sentence. You're not going to say, oh, I love your dates. You say, no, thank you for serving me homemade filled dates just for me. Anything close to that. Something that will touch her heart. And that goes also for the man who are in a male majlis or male salon or a living room. They will also say thank you, but with an acknowledgement is a verb in the sentence. This here, the cup, we will never put it down. It's in your hand, and if it's in your hand, it's in your hand. You may want to quickly put it down if it's needed and take the next bite of your the date, but make sure this stays continuously in your hand and you drink it very slowly. No more than 3, maximum 3 of these. I stayed with 1, and that was already indicative that I know what I'm talking about and that I respect and honor my my hostess and the fact that I was invited as a non-Emirati, which is an exception to the rule. It's becoming a little easier now to be integrated, although I must admit that you will not only be given dates, you'll be giving many small bite-sized snacks. And these bite-sized snacks, you may go home and rolling. You may have to stop eating for 2 or 3 days. It's so beautiful what they actually present you with. And then you have dinner after. Then you have dessert after 5 hours. I gained close to 10 kilos during the 5 years in the United Arab Emirates, and I lost them already, but it took me a while until I did. But it was all worth it. It was all worth it. So coming back, the dates have a history, and it's almost every Emirati, they would eat anywhere between 3 to 7 dates per day, and especially during Ramadan time. The date is part of their lifestyle. It is becoming now more and more of a superfood, or a conscious superfood. It was always been a superfood, and they're replacing it more and more with, in other words, as opposed to taking candies or candy bars or cakes, they're eating more and more dates. There are too many in the Gulf area that are affected by diabetes, 4 out of 5. And there are also different types of dates. And dates, they also have the so-called diabetic date that has hardly any sugar in it. And they can eat 3 to 4 per day of these dates. Now, I have come to the end of presenting you with how to fill dates, or how to fill the Emirati dates, because I'm writing Emirati food, or about Emirati food. Don't forget what's essential is that if you do not find Emirati dates, that doesn't matter. You find the dates of your choice. If you find Saudi, then by all means buy the Saudi. If you buy from Tunisia, you can, but they're very difficult to operate with. They're very dry, very long, and they taste wonderful, but to fill them is a little more difficult. Don't forget to get yourself rose water. You don't have to get this amount, but you can if you wish, because I will be giving another workshop on rose water and juices and drinks and ice cream, also Emirati ice cream. That's coming up next time. And what is important is always zaffaran, dates, the almonds, pistachios, and walnuts, and the almond peeled and in pieces, and sesame, yes. The chocolate has only come in the last 10, 12 years. Chocolate and coffee, meaning coffee the European way. So if you want that, absolutely. So this will never end. In other words, you can add more and more flavors. You can change it as you wish, as now they're doing slowly, or adding olives into the date. Exquisite for savory purposes. You can also squish it on or place it on a toast. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, I notice that I will probably never stop talking, and I really appreciate all of you coming on board. I love doing this. And Gaetano, thank you for having me on board. Had it not been for you inviting me to this platform, I wouldn't be here. Great big hug to you, Gaetano, and to all of you who have come on board, big hugs too. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.